The reservation sat quiet under a bruised November sky, the kind of quiet that feels like something is holding its breath. I had come back to my grandmother's old house on the edge of the Dene land after 10 years away. City life, college, a job that paid just enough to forget where I came from. The first night I slept in her room, I found her journal under the mattress. Yellowed pages filled with warnings written in shaky handwriting. Don't whistle after dark. Don't answer if someone calls your name in your mother's voice. If you hear knocking on the north wall, leave the house immediately. I laughed it off as superstition, the ramblings of an old woman who'd spent too many winters alone. But the second night, around 2:17 a.m., I heard it. 4 soft knocks on the north wall of the bedroom. Not wind, not branches, deliberate, human-like. I froze under the blankets, heart hammering, telling myself it was nothing. Then came the second set of knocks, slower, as if whatever was outside was waiting for me to answer. I didn't move. The knocks stopped. After 30 minutes of silence, I finally crept to the window and peered through the slats of the blinds. Nothing but sagebrush and moonlight. No footprints in the dust, no shape in the shadows. Yet the air inside the house felt heavier, like someone had opened a door I couldn't see and let something cold slip inside. I didn't sleep again that night. The next few days passed uneasily. I tried to keep busy, cleaning, fixing the sagging porch, chopping wood, but the feeling never left. Things went missing. My keys, my phone charger, one of my grandmother's silver rings she always wore. They'd reappear days later in strange places, on top of the refrigerator, inside a shoe, under my pillow. I started leaving the radio on low, hoping the sound would fill the silence. On the 4th night, I woke to scratching, not at the door, at the ceiling. Slow, dragging claws moving across the wooden beams above my bed. I lay still, eyes wide in the dark, listening as the sound traveled from one corner of the room to the other, then stopped directly over me. My breath caught when I realized the scratching had changed rhythm, mimicking my breathing. Slow inhale, slow exhale. I whispered, "Stop!" and the sound stopped instantly. The silence that followed was worse. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, aiming it at the ceiling. Nothing, just dust and cobwebs. But when I lowered the beam, I saw it. A single black hair, long and coarse, lying across my chest like it had fallen from above. I swept it onto the floor and spent the rest of the night sitting against the wall, lights on, waiting for sunrise. My cousin Leland came by the next morning to check on me. He'd always been the skeptic in the family, the one who rolled his eyes at the old stories. I told him everything, knocks, scratching, the hair. He laughed at first, said I was stressed and imagining things, but when I showed him the journal, his face changed. He read the warnings aloud, voice quieter with each line. "You know what these mean, right?" he asked. I shook my head. He looked out the window toward the dry wash behind the house. Skinwalker signs, old ones, the kind that don't just watch, they want in. He told me to burn cedar, keep salt by the doors, and never go outside after sunset until the moon was full again. I asked why he believed it now. He hesitated, then admitted he'd heard something too. 2 nights earlier, while driving past the house, he saw a tall figure standing in the yard wearing my grandmother's old quilted coat. It had turned its head toward his headlights, and its face wasn't right. Too long, eyes too high. He'd floored the gas and hadn't stopped until he was back in town. That night, he stayed over. We sat in the living room with every light on, cedar smoke curling through the air, neither of us sleeping. Around 3 a.m., the power went out. Not a flicker, just sudden, total darkness. The silence was suffocating. Leland whispered, "Don't move." We listened. From outside came the sound of footsteps on gravel,
slow and uneven, circling the house. Then a voice, my grandmother's voice, calling my name softly from the back porch. "Come outside, honey. I forgot my shawl." My skin crawled. My grandmother had been dead for 6 years. Leland grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. "Don't answer. Don't even breathe loud." The voice called again, closer this time, right outside the living room window. "Why won't you let me in? It's cold." The doorknob rattled gently. Then the voice changed, became deeper, wetter, like something speaking through a throat full of gravel. It laughed, low and bubbling. The footsteps moved away, but not far. We heard them pause at the north wall again. 4 knocks. Pause. 4 more. Then silence. When the power finally came back on at dawn, we found fresh handprints on every window, too large, fingers too long, pressed into the glass from the outside.
We didn't stay another night. Leland drove me to his place in town, but the feeling followed. My phone started receiving calls from my own number. When I answered, I heard only my own breathing from the other end. At Leland's house, small things began to disappear again. His truck keys, a kitchen knife, a photo of his daughter. One morning, we found the photo taped to the inside of the refrigerator door. The glass cracked. That night, something heavy jumped onto the roof. We heard it walk from one end to the other, claws clicking on the tin. It stopped above Leland's bedroom. He whispered, "It knows we're here together." We sat back to back on the couch with a hunting rifle between us, waiting. Around 2:40 a.m., the front door creaked open, slowly, deliberately, even though we'd locked it and chained it. Footsteps, barefoot, wet-sounding, padded across the living room floor toward us. We couldn't see anything in the dark, but we felt the air shift, like something massive was standing inches away. Leland raised the rifle. A low growl answered, not animal, not human. Then the door slammed shut and the footsteps retreated. We stayed awake until morning, shaking. The medicine man Leland knew refused to come to the house. He said it was already marked and that going inside would only invite the thing to follow him home. Instead, he met us at the edge of town with a small bundle of herbs, ash, and a single hawk feather. He performed a short blessing over us, speaking in Navajo too fast for me to follow. He warned us never to speak its name aloud, never to look it directly in the eyes if we saw it, and never to be alone after dark until the first hard frost. He also said something that chilled me. It's wearing her face because it wants you to feel safe when it finally comes close. That night, back at Leland's, I dreamed of my grandmother standing at the foot of the bed, smiling, but her smile stretched too wide, teeth too many. When I woke, I found a single hawk feather on my chest, exactly where the black hair had been nights before. Outside the window, something tall watched from the tree line, motionless. When I blinked, it was gone. Weeks passed. The incident slowed, then stopped. No more knocks, no more voices, no more handprints. I moved back to the city, took the journal with me, and locked it in a metal box under my bed. Leland and I don't talk about that month much, but every year when the first cold wind of November comes, I catch myself listening, waiting for 4 soft knocks on a north wall that isn't there anymore. Sometimes, late at night when the apartment is quiet, I think I hear footsteps circling the building, slow, patient. I never answer. I never look out the window. I just turn up the volume on the TV and remind myself that some things don't leave because you move away. They leave when they're finished with you, or when they've found someone else to wear. Last week, my phone rang at 2:17 a.m. The caller ID showed my old house number, the one that's been disconnected since 2019. I let it go to voicemail. There was no message, just 30 seconds of slow, deliberate breathing, and then 4 soft knocks before the line went dead.